Hello everyone. So we are discussing about the constitution. In previous presentation we have seen and we have discussed about the constitution, and we have seen what exactly do we mean by constitution, what are the peculiarities of Indian constitution, and why the constitution is important to run the country. Okay, so these all things are mentioned and these all things are already discussed in previous presentation. So in this particular presentation we are going to discuss about fundamental rights. Okay, so we will look at exactly what do we mean by fundamental rights, what fundamental rights are given to Indian citizens. Okay, and what are the importance, right? What are the importance of rights? And we will try to differentiate between rights and we can say fundamental rights and other rights. Okay, so let's begin one by one. We will take a look of these rights. Okay, so first of all, let's see exactly what do we mean by fundamental rights. As you can see in the very beginning of the slide, that fundamental rights are those rights which are essential for intellectual, moral, and spiritual development of citizens of India. Okay, so in short, we can say that for overall development of any individual, few rights are required. Okay, so when you give liberty, when you give rights to someone, then he or she can exercise those rights, and with the help of those rights one can develop himself or herself to the highest level. Okay, and when you are developing yourself, first of all we have to understand that why individual is important, because ultimately every person of the country is the real asset of the nation. Okay, and when we can say invest in human, right, it is called human development, right? When we invest in human, ultimately it is going to result in more better way, and we can say the government of India will get more and more benefit out of that, or overall we can say the entire nation will get more and more benefit. Because if I just want to tell you, see, for example, education, if you provide education to every section of the society, right, if each and everyone gets the education, so what will happen, they all will be on better position in their life, whether they are starting their own entrepreneur, right, enterprise, or they are doing a kind of, we can say, employment somewhere. So ultimately they are going to gain huge amount of, we can say, uh, amount of money or amount of respect, everything. And when they are earning huge amount of money, it also means that they are going to be the taxpayers, right? They will be paying income tax to the government, and in many more forms, right? So ultimately government will get the revenue, and this way government will spend more and more money on developmental projects. Okay, so this is the entire, we can say, cycle, which I just wanted to explain in short. So now you might have understood that why fundamental rights are essential. It's not that only, you can say, revenue is the purpose or money is the purpose of development. For living happy and healthy life, you need certain rights. Okay, and for that reason only, these category, right? This category of fundamental rights is created, which is there in Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. We will see that also in detail. So, as these rights are fundamental or essential for existence and all-round development of individuals, they are called fundamental rights. Okay, since these rights are essential and very, very important, right, and therefore they become fundamental, right, very essential rights. So these rights are enshrined in Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. And if I want to talk about articles, so from Article 12 to Article 35, all these rights are mentioned in detail. Okay, so separate part is created, and that part is known as Part 3 of Indian Constitution. So fundamental rights apply universally to all citizens. It's not that one community will get different rights and another community will get altogether different rights. That is not going to happen. Each and every community, or you can say overall universally, every human being, right, or every citizen of the country will get equal rights. There will be no differentiation, there will be no discrimination while allocating the rights to the citizens. So we can say irrespective of your race, birthplace, religion, caste, gender, these all things does not come in, we can say, while allocating rights to any citizen of the country. We have few fundamental rights which are extended to, we can say, foreigners also, right, who are not basically Indians, they are foreigners, but for them also few rights are extended. Okay, we will see about that also. So, and more importantly, these rights are justiciable. Okay, this is the core point. This is the major point of this slide, that these all rights which are mentioned right from Article 12 to Article 35, all these rights are justiciable in nature. Okay, what does it mean? It simply means that in case of the fundamental rights violation, the Supreme Court of India can be approached directly. We all know that whenever we have to approach judiciary, there is a step, right? First we have to go to local, that is district court, then we have high court, and then we have Supreme Court. But in some cases you don't have to go through bottom. Directly you can go to zenith, that is Supreme Court. You don't have to go to district court, you don't need to go to high court also. Directly you can approach Supreme Court if your fundamental rights are violated. So we can say that this is the more important point over here. Along with that, we can say that these all fundamental rights are protected by the Constitution. Okay, one can simply understand that uh, rights are mentioned, all fundamental rights are mentioned in the Constitution. But what if there is no guarantee of delivering these rights? If these rights are violated, then what is the use of that? So therefore you need protection of your right. And who will provide the protection? The Constitution itself. And of course the Supreme Court or judiciary is known as the protector or guardian of the Constitution, right? They are the protectors, and therefore if any, we can say, article is violated, then automatically judiciary will come in picture and they will deliver justice. Okay, so this way it works. And particularly Article 32, okay, it says that if any of your articles or if any of your rights are violated, then you can directly approach in Supreme Court without any mediator. Okay, you don't have to go to district court also and high court also. Skipping these all things, you can directly jump and you can directly approach in Supreme Court, and speedy trial will be done. Okay, and in this way the justice will be delivered in fast manner. So that is the core point. The next one is about their sacrosanctness, okay, or their permanentness. One can simply ask that, are fundamental rights permanent, right, or are they sacrosanct? So the answer is no, they are not permanent. They can be amended. Okay, they can be curtailed. Few fundamental rights can be amended, or even they can be repealed also. But for that you have to go through the Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, first of all, if at all you want to make any change in fundamental rights, you will have to go through constitutional amendment. Without that amendment, that change will not be considered as valid. Okay, and therefore it is very important to note down. And these rights, the rights can be suspended during the operation of national emergency. Whenever, we can say, national emergency is declared in India, At that time, all these fundamental rights will be suspended, but there is exception. In that also you have exception, and that is Article 20 and 21. Okay, especially right to life. So this Article 20 and 21, these two articles will not be suspended even if there is emergency in the country. Okay, so that's again important to note down. So they have been made an integral part of Constitution and hence cannot be taken away by simple or ordinary legislation. As I said just now, that if you want to make any change, you will have to go through the constitutional amendment. Okay, and you cannot simply pass the bill and okay, and with ordinary law you cannot make any change. You need to go through the special majority for that purpose. So any law passed by any legislature in the country would be declared null and void if it is against rights guaranteed by the Constitution. Okay, all these fundamental rights are mentioned in the Constitution, and if any state is going to pass bill in their legislature against fundamental rights, so such bill will be scrapped. Okay, we have High Court also and we have Supreme Court also to deal with that. So in such case, all these we can say whatever laws those states or state assemblies have made, those all states laws will be considered null and void. They are not valid anymore if they are going against the essence of fundamental rights. We have to also note that these all rights are not, can say, unlimited. Okay, these all rights are not unlimited. They are not absolute in nature. There are certain reasonable restrictions. Okay, certain reasonable restrictions are imposed on them, and the reasonability of restriction will also be decided by judiciary, because ultimately at the end of the day government can impose any restriction and they can call it as reasonable restriction. So that is not expected. Therefore the judiciary will decide whether the restrictions are reasonable or not. Okay, so as I said that fundamental rights are not absolute in nature, but they are having certain reasonable restrictions over them. Okay, if I just want to give you some example, for example, this is not fundamental right, but just I am giving you for your understanding. For example, driving vehicle. So when you drive vehicle, you get the license to drive vehicle, but along with that, there is a restriction. Okay, there are few restrictions on that. What are those restrictions? You should take all the precautions while driving your car or any other vehicle, like wearing the seat belt, right? And the speed limit should be under control, right? The speed limit is set as per the you can say regions. In different region you have different speed limits. So what are these? These are restrictions. But what kind of restrictions? They are reasonable restrictions. It looks good. It looks sound. They are reasonable in nature and not unreasonable. So therefore we can say that fundamental rights are not absolute, but they are having certain reasonable restrictions on them. Okay, and as we have discussed in previous presentation also, that these all articles are mentioned in detail. Okay, each and every article of the Constitution, particularly Indian Constitution, each and every article is mentioned in detail so that there will be no ambiguity and no doubt. Okay, even common man can read the Constitution, and afterwards he or she can understand the meaning of that particular article. Okay, so this was the can say beginning of fundamental right and the importance of fundamental rights. So this is sufficient for this presentation, and in next presentation we will be looking at what exactly or what are the fundamental rights which are mentioned in the Constitution. We will see one by one. For now we will take leave over here, and thank you for patiently listening.